Just allow 1 or 2 minutes for everyone to settle down. Who's the OHS person? Oh, you the OHS person. No, you can do it. It looks more official. I'll let you start. Okay. Morning, everyone. Welcome. At the time of COVID, things are totally different than how they used to be. So it's a bit difficult for a statistics organization, but it also opens up many opportunities, and we'll talk to that. That's there. Just before we start, is the media ready? We can start, no? I had a nod of heads. Yes, thank you. Just before we start, we're going to have our occupational health and safety representative come and give us a briefing on the protocols we need to follow. As soon as you enter the building, you need to follow protocols. And Neo, let me give you your minute. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think we have noticed. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Can I remove the mask for the sake of being audible? I think all of us have noticed that as we enter the building, all of us had to conduct a screening. That is to ensure that everybody that is inside does not have COVID-19. So what we are expecting that everyone, when you're inside, can you please wear your masks and observe the social distancing. We also have a lot of sanitizers all over the building. Please sanitize your hands as regularly as possible. If ever you start to experience any of the COVID-19 symptoms, please let us know, and then proper arrangements will be made, whether you are taken to a medical practitioner, or if you need to be taken home, that will be done. But all of us observe the social distancing, wear our mask correctly at all times, and then sanitize and wash hands on a regular basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Neo. So I'm your program director. I'm Ashwell Jeniker. And I'm the Deputy Director General, responsible for statistical operations and provincial coordination. Okay, so statistics and censuses. We spoke about this about 5 or 6 years ago. People would be totally not knowing what's going on. But about 2 years ago, we had a pandemic, and we found that people who's normally not interested in statistics are now checking every day. How many people are positive? How many people are in hospitals? Because depending on how many people are positive will determine how many people are getting seriously ill. And then you need a hospital infrastructure to cater for those. So our population became very aware, the worldwide, of how important statistics is. And that's the census. I mean, the census will count how many people there are, and then we'll know whether our infrastructure is enough, whether our schools are enough, and whether our high schools, universities, and eventually when people pass on, whether there'll be enough graveyards to cater for those that's there. I've got a slight change to the program, so we'll ask the Deputy Minister to speak first, and she'll give us an overview of the process before we go into the detail of what's in the program. I'll ask the Statistician-General, Mr. Risenga Maluleke, to introduce the Deputy Minister for us, please. Thanks, SG. Just hold on, SG. Let me just wipe my COVID off here before you come. Must we be closer to the microphone? It must be
Thank you indeed, Program Director. Do I need to take my mask so you can hear me, Yandi?
Take it.
Okay. Thank you indeed, Program Director, and good morning to members of the public and indeed members of the media through which we always communicate to the public at large. Let me greet the Deputy Minister in the Presidency, Ms. Thembi Siweya. And let me also greet the Deputy Chairperson of the South African Statistics Council, Mr. Ian Assam. And of course, from the Statistics Council, he is coming with Tabilioka, who is in charge of our Economics Committee of our Statistics Council. Quite interesting is that Tabi tweets a lot, even on the census. So she's no new person on matters of census, but certainly for those who have never put the face to the person, they have an opportunity today. I've been given a very simple task this morning of introducing the Deputy Minister. I will speak later, and indeed, usually nobody speaks after the Deputy Minister, as you will know. Once she has spoken, we should conclude the launch today. But when we were discussing, the Deputy Minister said she has a very important responsibility to attend to. But she will stay with us until her phone rings. If they don't ring her while she's still with us, she's going to stay with us. So if they ring her and they come and take her away, we must accept that she will have to leave. But at least she needs to have done what she's supposed to do. And we have agreed, as status say, that we must wear more green today so that that call that she's expecting has a green light not to ring until we conclude this program, so that we can have her for the whole session with us. She needs no introduction. She has come out of the ranks of the political party that is governing in South Africa, the African National Congress, certainly having grown through the ranks of the Youth League of the African National Congress. And during her student days, she had a lot of responsibility. She went to Medunsa, the famous Medunsa. She was in the SRC. So she had a lot of responsibilities in the SRC. But amongst other things is that she's a member of parliament, and indeed, being a member of parliament, she's also a deputy minister in the presidency. As you know that in the presidency, the minister in the presidency is Mr. Mondli Gungubele. So she is a deputy minister in the presidency. She has served previously with the late Minister Mthembu, Jackson Mthembu, and currently she's serving in the presidency with Minister Mondli Gungubele. And she has a lot of responsibilities having to do with young people, gender, the girl child, and indeed encouraging participation of our society and indeed of our country to partake in national initiatives. So being an activist, it was quite appropriate that she was asked to come and deal with the launch of Census 2022, because after the launch, you know, when she has launched, we are going to go into that activism mode to get ourselves to be counted as members of the public. And indeed, she is going to assist us a lot more to reach out to other policymakers, not those that are in government, indeed in cabinet, but also reaching out to those that are in parliament so that we can count everyone. Deputy Minister, I invite you to the stage.
I'm a bit short. Okay. Because I'm a bit short. Maybe it will be more audible. Yeah, I think it's fine. Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's fine. Thank you, Program Director. SG of Stats SA, Mr. Risenga Maluleke. The South African Stats Council Deputy Chair, Mr. Ayn Hassam, is not
Just need to
okay.
see the camera on.
All right,
Apologies.
it's fine.
Just hold on.
Oh, I see. There.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, no, it's fine. Don't worry. Thank you. Colleagues from Stats SA and the Presidency, members of the media and fellow South Africans, good morning. We're really happy today that as Stats SA, they are ready to conduct the 2022 National Census. Why is Stats SA doing this? Stats SA is mandated by the Act of 1999, Act number 6, that we must periodically conduct national census. And therefore, the SG is tasked with the responsibility to ensure that we calculate the numbers of our population. Why is it important that as a country we continue to have periodic national census? For government to be able to plan long-term and short-term, to also be able to intervene in relation to policy, we need to understand the demographics of our country. I would want to make it simpler for our citizens because it's very important for them to understand the responsibility to respond to the call of Stats SA to participate in the census. As government, we would want Stats SA, independent as they are, to collate data which is going to help us to understand the households. How many people are employed, how many are not employed, who is at school, who is not at school, who is in a crèche and who is not in a crèche, why are they not so, and the household income. All of that information and data remains important so that after they shall have done their own independent process, they can be able to take us into confidence to say, this is how your population is standing, this is where they are, and therefore as government we can be able to do what we call short-term planning and also budgeting to be able to understand where are we supposed to improve in the main, where are we supposed to channel more resources, and so on and so on. We're also very proud that Stats SA, for the first time in the history of this country, we're going to do what we call digital census. In the last 3 years, from 2029, Stats SA has invested some time in conducting what we call mini census through the digital platforms. Now, for this 2022 census, we are going to utilize 3 methodologies, if I can put them like that way. There's going to be the telephone one, where we're going to be giving you a call and we conduct census through that. There is also the second one, which is a new one, which we are really proud that SG and your team, you were able to eventually bring it forth, which is the digital census, where you can go on the website of Stats SA, you register, and then after registering, you can then be able to participate in the census. And the last one, for those who might not be necessarily able to attain the 2 that I've mentioned, is where we're going to deploy our more than 1,000 field workers countrywide who are going to come to your households to come and request that they conduct census. And we are requesting and humbling to South Africans that when they come and knock on your doors, please participate with an understanding that you are feeding into what government wants to do to understand where you are in your economic standing. When they come to your houses, they are going to be identified with some form of an identification document, sticker of some sort. If you do not feel comfortable that they come from Stats SA, all of the field workers which we shall have placed, you can also go to our website to find out the information about them. We have also trained our field workers that because of the pandemic, if they can comply with COVID-19 regulations, and this is a call we keep on speaking to South Africans about, that let's comply with COVID-19, more so let us also continue to vaccinate. How are we going to assist South Africans that Stats SA collect data which is credible? It's in two formats. For us, is us training our field workers with the gadgets that we have given them, how to utilize them, how to capture the information. For you as South Africans and everybody in South Africa, is to ensure that you become as transparent as possible so that the data which they're going to collect is a true reflection of what is happening in our country. And we want to appeal to South Africans that as and when they come and interact with you in the 3 platforms that we have mentioned, please ensure that you become transparent as possible. We also want to reaffirm and reassure South Africans that the data which is collected, it is not going to be used anywhere else. That data lies with Stats SA, it is not going to be given to any state agency. So at no point should anybody feel or worry that if I give them my data, they might want to use it elsewhere. The data, by law, lies with Stats SA and it remains there, and it's meant to come and tell us and the nation where are we standing and what is happening with our population and where they stand. We are really happy from where we're standing that Stats SA is ready to go and conduct the census, and we want to applaud you, SG and the team, amidst the pandemic and amidst the many challenges that as a country we have faced, that from 2019 you have had some time to prepare yourself so that we can be able to go and do the work. We are lastly humbly requesting, and we want to thank you, members of the media, that you have continued to play a role of ensuring that you take this information to our people. And we are appealing to you that let us continue to spread the message of the pandemic, spread the message that our people need to participate in the census in their numbers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, TM. Appreciate. We're now going to have the census project director who will give us the details of the state of readiness. Lukman, is this you or Calvin? Lukman, it's you. So, thanks. So Calvin Molongwan is the census program director, but he's not feeling so well today. So Lukman Umar will be standing in for him.
Good morning, colleagues. Thank you, Program Director. My responsibility today is just to give you a bit of the background on the census, what we've had over the many years, and where we are specifically today with the launch of the census. If we were to move on to the background and the mandate, as the SG and the Deputy Minister referred to Section 7 of the Stats Act, the Statistician-General must cause a population census. And specifically, the question you might ask yourself is, what is a census? How would you define it? In many terms, it could be one of two. In many countries, they run a population census only, or a housing census. And in some countries, like South Africa, we run them together as a population and housing census. And it's effectively a stocktake, a snapshot, a point in time in the country where we've actually account for everyone within the borders of the country, and we can record the characteristics within the living quarters and also individual characteristics. Now, the question you might ask yourself is, why a census? A census specifically generates diverse data. It assists in terms of planning, policy formulation, and specifically it gives insight in terms of government processes, priority areas of government, and it also allows for good public administration. So equity in distribution of government services, delineating electoral districts and boundaries. It allows for measuring the impact of industrial development, to name a few. Now, why is the census unique? All persons in the country are enumerated, and nothing else can do that. If you would think of this country moving at any point in time, and when it comes to census night at midnight on the night of the second, the eve of the third, everything stops. And at that stage, we take a snapshot. We count everyone, including yourselves. And nothing else can give us that level of simultaneous data that's required. We record all the individual characteristics. It occurs within a defined period. It's a de facto census, but we also count between the 3rd and the 28th of Feb. And it provides data at the lowest level. Now, let me explain this in slightly bit more detail. So we effectively have to break this country down into smaller pieces, and that involves mapping the country. With mapping the country, we break it into these small pieces or enumeration areas, and then we mobilize a huge team of field workers who then, as part of the publicity campaign, once we train, we unleash them in the country, and we collect individual information. This is then compiled into this vast data bank, or census data bank, and which is then analyzed and assessed and disseminated. But for many people, a census is the only time that the state reaches out to them and asks them a question. And so effectively, it's a very important layer in that activity. Going back to 1994, in 1996, we had our first census, which was then followed by the Census 2001. And you'll see then the 10-year cycle that was implemented before Census 2011 and now Census 2022. We also have intercensal surveys, large-scale surveys. For example, in 2016, we visited 2.7 million households to actually account for, and this is to provide the data intercensal period within them. Now, why is the Census 2022 different, and what are we saying that we are doing differently? It's specifically in terms of the use of technology and geospatial information to provide a much faster, more efficient, and better quality product. Also, in terms of what the Deputy Minister indicated, the 3 platforms that we are utilizing. The use of technology allows the Stats.SA field worker to now conduct the interview on a digital device. In addition to our additional platforms of CATI and CAWI, computer-assisted telephonic interviewing and computer-assisted web interviewing. And for those, especially in COVID times, it allows us to then get your information without necessarily meeting face-to-face. You would ask yourself, who then gets counted in the census? That's population in dwelling units, that's the homes that you and I would live in. Population in special dwelling and institutions, such as prisons, frail care centers. Population in transit, That would be people that would be moving at the borders, at airports, leaving. At the time of census, midnight, the 2nd and 3rd, we count them. And also the homeless population. Because they are highly mobile, we pick them on census night and we ensure they are accounted for. The question you would then ask is, what do we count? Now, we've just listed a few of the themes going back to 1996 to now, where initially we had 84 questions or data items linked to them, and now to 2022 with 113 data items. There's a broad section from demographics, migration, to employment, modes of transport, but specifically separated into individual characteristics and household characteristics. I'm not going to take you into the detailed process flow, but just suffice to say, over the last 2 to 3 years, Stats SA has been testing its systems, its processes, its questions, its questionnaire, and piloted them, tested them, and reviewed them towards where we are now with the launch of the census. The detailed process flow more specifically shows you the many subsystems, complementary and supplementary data systems that actually allow us to integrate, collaborate, and enmesh into our census collection. But primarily the 3 platforms are accounted for. If I could talk to some of the key innovations for Census 2022 and what technology allows us to bring, one is the element of localized recruitment, and this is a key factor in allowing a census to be successful. We've built in-house CAPI and CAWI systems. We've allowed with integrated CATI case management, the vehicle and device management, as we have a lot of people moving around at the same time. Also with dashboard reporting systems that give us a snapshot at any time in terms of collection and where we are. And again with fieldworker verification systems to give the public out there comfort that we are actually coming as a field worker. I'm not sure if you can view this, but that's just an example of all our applicants and our field workers, where we actually link them through to their households. We pick them, we could localize them within the enumeration areas and the field worker unit, and it would then allow someone with the local dynamics, with the understanding of the language, with the understanding of gatekeepers who exist in the relevant area, to account for people in the area and assist at various sectors. Now, if I could move on to the baseline timetable and the key milestones. On the 25th of October last year, we opened HR registration. At the same time, we brought on household registration to allow people to account for themselves. We then began national training on the 3rd of December, which concluded on the 15th of December, with provincial training on the 3rd of Jan to the 13th of Jan, into district training on the 18th of Jan. Now this allows us to have a 3-tier mode. I mean, how would you train 165,000 people like that? And with all of this being virtual, with the capability of us also ensuring that whether a COVID alert level or a lockdown level came through, we still could continue, and the activities of the census was vital. Once we conclude district training, we then would have our census night next week, Wednesday. And Wednesday night at midnight, we count the key transients and homeless people, and we then start on the 3rd of Feb with our main data collection. All web-based responses will be between the 3rd and the 7th of Feb for CAWI collection, but at the same time, our field workers will then be accounting for everyone with digital devices and knocking on your doors. We then follow this up with a non-response follow-up, at which we then remove the census from the field and bring on the post-enumeration survey. This is to allow us to check the quality and completeness of the census. In terms of the state of readiness, just to give assurance that we are there, we've built our CAPI, CATI, and CAWI platforms to allow online registration and allow multimodal collection. 99% of the systems have been developed internally, And we are also using locally developed applications for the first time. We've also, over the last 12 to 18 months, done rigorous checks with the information regulator, and we've got confirmation of POPI compliance. All information as collected in the census will be kept strictly confidential and will not be shared with any other body as per the Stats Act and or organ of state. We have enhanced data security measures in place to ensure that. In terms of our achievements with recruitment, we have, largely speaking, 99% of our fieldwork operations officers on board from the 3rd of Jan. That was approximately 4,600 fieldwork operations officers. Since our training began, we have about 90% of our actual field workers sourced and recruited and are currently in training. And they are, as we speak, undergoing the starts of their competency tests. So in addition to the training and logistics, we've also got digital training agreements in place and distribution of close on to 4,700 vehicles to sustain this massive movement of people at any one point. The forward logistics have begun. We've got our fieldwork materials, burbs, bags, caps, stickers, etc., all distributed. In addition to our publicity mechanisms, we've got our advocacy being ramped up. You will see this in your various social media platforms. We've started our boosting. We've got TV, radio, and digital adverts. Billboards are coming up, media integration, activations at toll gates, as coastland and inland schools are opening in the last week, and our gatekeepers are coming on board. A very important part of our fieldworker verification process is the confirmation that someone who knocks on your door is someone who's employed by Stats SA. And so effectively the ID card that you will see will be able to be verified online. You'll be able to confirm, even with a visual picture, of the field worker on our systems to make sure that the person at your door is a Stats SA field worker. Our call center is now operational on a 7-day basis and responding to needs. There has been a few challenges though. We have had some slow uptake on household registration. All households are required to complete registration by the 30th of January. But non-registration does not mean we do not count you. It just means that you will not be assigned remote data collection or CAWI privileges. And so effectively the key part is to ensure that we account and we do not duplicate anyone. We have to make sure we close registration. There have been recruitment challenges here and there, but we have got to about 90% now, and there are still targeted recruitment activities underway. We have had support from our various media platforms, and the citizens of South Africa are taking note. Vehicle distribution and availability has been difficult. Since COVID and the advent of COVID, many vehicle companies have defleeted, and so effectively you find it difficult for a project of this magnitude. But I believe various mechanisms are being brought on board, and hopefully this project will be fully capacitated. In summary, we are ready for the main count. Join us on this journey. #GetCounted. You count. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lukman. Truly the biggest mobilization in peacetime. I mean, just below 5,000 cars, 17 million households, 148,000 people that we're employing over the next month. 3.2 billion rand will be spent on the census. And the question is why? I mean, why would we conduct such a massive exercise? I mean, if you don't have these numbers, government can't plan. We need to plan for now, we need to know what's going on. But also if a child is born today, in 6 years that child needs to go to school. So there needs to be schools for those children. In 13 years, the child will need to go to high school. So we need to know where the high schools are. When they're 18, they need to go to university or college. And we need to know whether there's going to be enough. Then at 25, they want to get married and they want to start working. So you need to know whether there'll be jobs or whether there will be place of employment and whether there'll be houses for them. The life expectancy of a child that's born today is about 66 years. So in 66 years, we expect that child to be no more. So then there need to be graveyards. So a census is not just about today and planning now. It projects 66 years ahead. For the ones who don't pass on, we need to know that our healthcare system will be strong enough to cater for those people in our country and the numbers that we've got at that time. So truly very important. Thanks, Lukman. Next on, I think it's Ian. Thanks. Ian Azam is the Deputy Chairperson of the Statistics Council. The Statistics Council is an independent body that advises both the Statistician-General and the Minister on the quality of the statistics, and they maintain the integrity of statistics right throughout the country. Thanks, Ian. Just hold on here. Sure.
Always good to be reminded of COVID protocols. We are living in uncertain times and we need to embrace the uncertainty. That's what we're told and that's what we're living each and every day. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ian Azam. I'm on behalf of Council. I want to just greet you this morning. Let me also greet the Deputy Minister. Deputy Minister, it's always a pleasure interacting with you. SG, again, thank you very much for the invitation. Program Director, thank you very much for inviting Council to this session. I'm not going to take the wind out of SG's input just now. Main thing for me is just for us as Council to signal our support for this important endeavour. SG will speak to, and Lukman has spoken to, the importance of this census for South Africa. I think it's part of all of our responsibilities as citizens of South Africa, as citizens of the world, to support initiatives like this. It's very important. And again, members of the press certainly partner with us to make this initiative a success. We know there are many challenges. Highlight those challenges to us. Alert us to those challenges timelessly, and let us then, with the SG and his capable team, then try and address those challenges timelessly. As the Program Director has said, Council exists to provide independent advice to both the Minister as well as the SG. We have a unique sort of role and an opportunity to quality assure the work of Stats South Africa, including the census. So we work with the SG and his team to ensure that the preparations for the census is on track. All the necessary nuts and bolts are in place, and that we are geared and ready to ensure a successful census. And from Council's perspective, we can see that all of those things are coming through nicely. We want to also just partner with everyone in the country, whether they are citizens or not, whether they are rich or poor, women, whoever, children, whoever. Let us work together to make this a success. Let us also try and deal with all of the challenges also collectively. And again, it's up to all of us to make this project a success. Maybe lastly, just to reaffirm that as Council, we are trying to, at all times, adhere to international statistical principles to make sure that this initiative is run on those principles, that they conform to best practice, and that we are taking no shortcuts in this census. Lastly, we want to also maintain the integrity of the census information and the personal particulars of everyone that participates, and also reassure everyone that we will not we will work towards making sure that the information is safeguarded, as is our role as the Statistics Council, is to safeguard official statistics. Other than that, thank you very much, and we look forward to everyone doing their part in this initiative. Thank you very much.
This is the good stuff. After this, my hands will be very clean. Thanks, Ian. Appreciate that. Next on the agenda, we've got the Statistician-General, Mr. Risenga Maluleke. So he is the head of Statistics South Africa, but also responsible for all statistics throughout the country. So he doesn't just lead us as an organization, but also responsible for all official and other statistics. So you've got other people also producing statistics, and the Statistician-General is responsible for those. SG, please brief us.
Program Director, Mr. Ashwell Jineka, who is Deputy Director General at Statistician, and having quite an extensive experience like other deputies at Statistician, not only on general matters of statistics, but also on censuses. He has a few censuses under his belt. If it was karate, we would say he's headed towards the black belt. By the way, I was also a deputy here at Statistician, so I also have my yellow belt. But let me mention to the media that when the minister delegated the deputy minister to come and deal with this launch, the issue is that he's held up somewhere, and he has indicated that if he gets an opportunity to free himself wherever he is, he will join us here. And we had an agreement with the minister. I haven't given my input, Program Director. Just want to say a few things. We had an agreement, Deputy Minister and I, that he will echo the message that we are putting across, so that we all move in unison as a country to get counted. So, in anticipation, you know, my Sangoma and Hlawiyalingana told me that the Deputy Minister would not leave until we have given our input. But my Sangoma in Shobane also told me that the Minister may arrive. In case he arrives, let us note the Minister in the Presidency in absentia, and indeed note the Deputy Minister in the Presidency, Ms. Thembi Siweya, who has given us the input. And let me note again the Deputy Chairperson of the Statistics Council and other members of the Statistics Council, as well as members of leadership at Statistician, and indeed staff members and members of the public. It's critical that even when we sit here with Minister, I mention Statistician separate from the responsibilities, the political responsibilities of the Deputy Minister. Because while we are in the Presidency, and always every government department needs political cover on administrative issues, on our methods and operations, we are independent. And the most interesting thing is that even when we conclude any operation, we release it equally to everyone else. So the Deputy Minister sees those results when we release them, including results of the census. She's going to receive them equally with everybody else. Let me mention, now getting straight to my input, that we meet usually at the United Nations General Assembly, United Nations Statistics Commission, General Assemblies for the heads of state and government. So as statisticians, we meet at the United Nations Statistics Commission every year. And there will be one end of February, beginning of March this year, which we will miss as South Africa because we are conducting a census. When we meet there, we agree on programs. One of the programs we have agreed upon was the 2000 round of population and housing censuses, which has gone and passed, and the 2010 round of population and housing census is gone and passed. Currently, we are in the 2020 round of population and housing censuses, which means that from the year 2015, everyone who is conducting a census until the year 2024 will form part of that rubric. In the previous round, Africa's 54 countries accounted up to 50, with an exception of the Central African Republic, with an exception of Congo DRC, with an exception of Eritrea, as well as Somalia. And Somalia had a large-scale sample survey. Now, we are conducting this census as the world within an environment of COVID-19, which is creating a lot more challenges to the 2020 round of population and housing censuses. In that we have seen our own South Africa, our own census being moved forward from October 2021, when it should have happened, to February 2022. In the neighboring countries, we are not the only ones. Namibia should have had theirs last year in August. It has been moved to August this year. Botswana should have had theirs in August last year. It has been moved into March this year. So right as we are in field, Botswana will be in field as well. So these are challenging times. And challenging times in terms of what COVID-19 has presented to us mean that we need data more than any other time before. And as such, I would like to appeal to everyone who finds themselves within the borders of South Africa to stand up and be counted. In the three methods that we have put in place, that is a method through which you can self-enumerate, called computer-assisted web interviews, through a method that will reach out to you by telephones, computer-assisted telephone interviews, for which people mainly have to register. And the third method, it's computer-assisted personal interviews, where our field workers will come with this tablets and capture every information from members of the public. There will be questions, and indeed there are questions. What happens if I don't get myself to be registered? Will I not be counted? I can assure you, members of the public, that Status seeks to count everyone out there. We will count you. So even when you are not registered, it means that you will be counted by people who will be coming out there in the form of field workers on personal interviews where they will knock at your door. But we would like to encourage everyone to register so that we can deal with issues.
Okay. I just want them to see you better. Is that better?
I can proceed now. SABC, I don't know whether your mic is still in good position here, and I don't want to. Is your sound okay? Okay, great. So what is happening is that we would like to encourage everyone to register, but even when you haven't registered, we will be available to count you out there, because our field workers will be out there to reach out to everyone who finds themselves within the borders of South Africa. There will be questions that will be asked. I'm in South Africa, I don't know my legal status in South Africa, so I don't want to be counted. Get counted. Get counted. We are, at Statistician, we are not encouraging lawlessness, but we have a responsibility to count everyone who finds themselves within the borders of South Africa, legal or illegal. Because when they are here, while they are busy sorting out their legal status, and they are busy interacting with law enforcement officers on their legalities, they are using resources, electricity, water, and the like.
Sorry, Chief, now I've been distracted. I moved it the wrong way. Lucky, give me a sense of when it's right. Is it fine now?
Oh, okay, this one, okay. So we see this one.
Okay.
It's fine. It's okay.
Is it fine? Sorry.
Can the COVID-19 person come and save me? There have been so many people here. Please save me from all these people, including there. More especially my mic. Yes. Well, this is how censuses are conducted. So if you have seen the moving and sorting out of the gadgets here, this is actual, you have been given a crash course on how to conduct a census. Because during census operations, there will be so many things that we have to correct out there so that we can count everyone. But the point that I was making is that we don't encourage lawlessness in South Africa, but we have the responsibility to count everyone who is within the borders of South Africa, legal or illegal, because while those who are illegal are sorting out their legal status and are busy complying to the law, they use resources, water, electricity, and they use ablution facilities, and there's a need to plan all the time. So it is critical that members of the public, for whatever reasons they may hold, to wish not to be counted, to come out there and be counted, because we will count you. It is very critical that we understand that we have put in outreach strategies that will help us reach out to everyone. So you are going to see many more of us, Deputy Minister, wearing this green T-shirt. So when Deputy Minister arrived this morning, when they gave her her T-shirt, I had my jacket, but I said, I'm not going to be dwarfed by the Deputy Minister when she has a T-shirt. I'm ditching my jacket. Because statistics are not supposed, official statistics are not supposed to be, to be subservient to any system. They always need to stand out on their own. So when my political leader was here, I was supposed to put on a jacket in terms of tradition, like the program director. But I had to punt for statistics team Census 2022 by making sure that my T-shirt is there. So, Deputy Minister, as and when you see many of our field workers on TV, including myself who will be in the field, donning this T-shirt, don't say the Statistician-General has forgotten his jacket, because it's gonna be forgotten most of the time now, so that we encourage everyone to get counted. Let me mention also that there are those who are worried that when I give my information, Statistician doesn't comply with all processes of information handling. Let me assure the public, everyone within the borders of South Africa, that we comply with the POPI Act. Processing of Personal Information Act, the POPIA, we comply. We have engaged with the information regulator, and indeed, ourselves and the information regulator have a very good relationship because they are independent, we are independent. We engaged with them, and they came back to us and say, you have a long history of upholding confidentiality and having knowledge of handling personal information. So you comply. That's what they told us. So we comply with the POPIA, and it's on the basis of that that we'll be conducting this census and continue to uphold confidentiality as we have done since time immemorial. Statistician has a magnificent history of data handling, and we have never broken confidentiality. There are people who say, so when I register, what will happen? Statistician is going to eat up all my data. We are not worried about your data, we just want you to be counted. We'll pay for everything. When you register, it's on Statistician's bill. How do you like that? Imagine going online, registering to be counted, and Statistician pays the bill. It's because we want to help you to make your information available so that when it's put together with other information of other people, we come up with aggregates and we come with the best picture of the country. This is the first African country to run a census out of its own systems. We have designed everything, and we are prepared to put this to the field. We have stress tested that. We are putting this to field so that we can share with other nations of the world, not only in Africa, other nations of the world, our systems. So let me continue, Deputy Minister, and indeed, members of the Statistics Council and Deputy Chair particularly, to encourage that whether you are out there in the suburbs, in the high-walled areas, gated communities, whether you are in our farming communities, whether you are in the undulating hills of our country and the valleys of our country, whether you are in our villages where some of us come from, and indeed whether you also from informal settlements or you have set up a place of settlement wherever you are. We are going to count you. We want to count you because you matter. So on the night of the 2nd of February, that is on the eve of the 3rd of February, we will be out there counting the homeless. After counting the homeless, we will be out there in the hospitals following up on children who have been born. Because we need to know, we need to count them. So we are leaving no one behind. And because we are running the first digital census, we want to come back with results a lot more quicker. In Census 1996, it took us 2 years to release the results. That is in 1998. For those who want to remember, we went to field on the 10th of October 1996, and we released the census on the 20th of October 1998. In 2001, it took us 2 years to release the results. We released them in 2003. In 2012, it took us, in 2011, it took us 12 months. And we will release these results within 12 months. So we want to make sure that the thirst for information that our nation has to be addressed a lot more speedily. So stand out there, wherever you are in every corner of our country, get counted. We will also count people in transit, so people going through our airports and everywhere, people in our hotels, they have to be counted. When they are through our airport, they are using facilities. When they are in hotels, they are using facilities. So stand out, stand up there, get counted. Program director, yourself also get counted. Deputy Minister, get counted. States Council, get counted. The Statistician-General also get counted. I thank you.
Thank you, SG. Very important that everyone gets counted. And remember, this is not for government. I mean, government does use the data, but this is for everyone. Businesses will use this data, small businesses, entrepreneurs. So please make sure you get counted. Please go and register. Because this might be the difference for that small business between survival or not. It is one of the items, I mean, having good quality data is one of the items that could give our economy a major boost. So please, everyone, make sure you do get counted. Now we're going to show you some of the systems that we're deploying, and we've got Lucky. Lucky, you're going to do the presentation on the systems. You set up already, or you will set up now? Thanks. And thank you, SG. Thanks for that.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Program Director. Let me take this opportunity to acknowledge the Deputy Minister, the SG, the Chairperson in the Council, the organizational executives, and all the members of the media.
Just a bit louder, Lucky.
A bit louder.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Is it clear? All right, much better. Thank you. My responsibility is quite simple, colleagues. It's just to ratify what has been presented here in terms of the 99% development that we've done as the organization in ensuring that we realize the dream of the multimodal collection. So what I will be doing now is to showcase what the SG has been speaking to in terms of us doing the registration such that each one of us can be counted. So I will quickly go to the registration page. So the registration page is quite simple. We have a tagline which says get counted, and the URL is also based on that, meaning that we made it as very easy as possible for each one to reach out to our registration platforms. So the URL is getcounted.statissa.gov.za. So when you go to the page, you will land on a landing page. And one thing to note also, I'm not presenting, okay, apologies. If I can just quickly do that. Okay. Is it showing on your side? Perfect. Thank you, Ntatoma. So the registration is meant for two population groups, which will be our normal SDIs, which is the special dwelling institutions, and we also have our dwelling unit, which would then have to register for them to be counted. Sorry. Okay, apologies colleagues and members for the technical glitch. Okay, as I was saying, there are two population groups that can register on our platforms, which will be the normal population, which will be our household population, and also our SDIs, which is the special dwelling institutions. So when you get to our platform, you have the opportunity to click on register. And when you click that, you will be presented with two options, which the first option would be your dwelling units, which is the normal household that you can register for. And the second option would be the special dwelling institution, which would be your SDIs that the SG was talking about, the people in the barracks, the people in the hospitals that you can register for. But for the purpose of this demonstration, I will quickly do the normal household registration, such that the public can have confidence on how to register on our platform. It's quite fairly easy. You click confirm, you will be presented with a page where you are expected to give your personal information. In your personal information, one thing to note, I would then do a registration on behalf of my mother, because I've already registered to be counted SG. So the platform would not allow me to register again. Then I would then go Majadibodi, which is my surname, and I will then use the option of getting the OTP through the SMS. I will then opt to be counted using the Kawi, which is the online. I will also then enter my cell phone number, and then confirm my cell phone number, and then enter my email address, and then confirm my email address. One thing to note is that when you are doing what we call a proxy registration, meaning that you would want to register on someone's behalf, you would then select, are you registering on behalf of another household, meaning that me as Lucky, I'm registering on behalf of my mother, who I would like to be counted using the online platform. I would then click yes. I would then click the province where my mother is residing. I will then click the district. I will also click the municipality, which the main place would then be in Hammanskraal, but the main place in that Hammanskraal would then be Mashimo, and the sub place would then be Mashimo. Then I would click next. In terms of security, just for security purposes and also to ensure that we are collecting the correct data, we have put in measures. You will then receive the one-time PIN on the number that you used to register. I will then enter the one-time PIN that I've just received on my cell phone, and I will then click verify. Okay. Then it's also validated, meaning that if the one-time PIN is incorrect, the system will not allow me to use the incorrect one-time PIN. Then when you click verify, it will then take me to the next page. When you click on this page, what we expect the public to do, as we can see, we have the 3 bars. The first bar is to get the personal information. The second bar is to get the address. And the last bar is what we call unpicking, and I will explain what that means in a short while. Now I will then try to search my mother's address on our platform. It will then pick up, because this is mostly a rural area without the formal address, it will pick up the subplace as I'm typing in. It's also trying to assist with an autocomplete. What I will then do is I will click on the subplace. Then I will see the points that are in that area. On top of each structure, you would then have a point. That point would represent where you reside. All you need to do is just to navigate to on top of the structure and click on the point. I will then look for the house of my mother, which I know is right at the end, and I know the type of the roofing. Then I will then click on top of it. Then it will expect me to give the address. Because there are no formal addresses in this instance, we are also saying if the existing pink point in your yard, please click the point, otherwise click on top of the roof. Also, you can give the street number or the earth or the stand number. In this case, I will give the stand number, which is 2092, which is, then you will then give the street name. But because there are no street names, we are also explaining there with the information that you can also supply the subplace of that area. In this instance, I will then give the subplace, which is Mashimo. And then I will click confirm. Now I'm just one step away from completing my registration, such that I can be counted online at the comfort of my couch, or at the comfort, yes, counting my mother at the comfort of my couch. Now, here we are talking to the issue that I will talk on later on, which is the third part. We are trying to locate your household such that we are able to can send you a unique link. That is to ensure that each and every one that we count through our platforms, that is the correct household. So that term, we term it internally unpacking. So I think in Census 2011, it used to be called listing, but I cannot confirm ST, I was not there. So, but now that we are on unpacking, you just need to say this is a standalone house. You have the different types of structures that are listed for you. So if you are in a high-rise, meaning a block of flats, you can select a block of flats. If you're residing in a semi-detached, you can select that. But as we have seen that we selected a standalone house, then I will select a standalone house. Then you click next. After you click next, it will then present you to say, select the structure on the list. If not, you can select on this box. But because the house is the main house and it's listed, I will just click on that box. Then I will click next. Then it will ask me how many households are in your dwelling unit, meaning we are trying to check how many households are residing in that specific dwelling unit. So we call this probing. So we're trying to probe even when we do this online. So in this instance, it's just a one household where my mother resides. Then I will click next. Now you are one step away from completing your registration. So in order for you to complete your registration and for you to can receive the link for enumeration, you need to confirm the information. So you just click confirm and then you click finish. Once you've clicked confirm and finished, you will be provided with a reference number and also a message that says to you, your link for enumeration will be sent in due course, meaning that from the period that Ntato Omar was talking about, from the 3rd to the 7th, we'll be issuing out links for each and every unique household to can then do their enumeration online. We will also be giving you a reference number that you can use to contact our call center should you experience any challenges with your registration. So, Program Director, that is the end of our demonstration on the registration. It's quite easy, fairly simple, 3 steps: personal details, address, unpacking. You are done with your registration. All you need to do now is to wait for the link that will be provided for you to do self-enumeration. I will then move to the second part of the demonstration, which is just to demonstrate the household questionnaire, which I will then request Sunny Boy to join me in front with the tablet. So what we are going to demonstrate, it will then be what our field workers, what we demonstrate is what we call KAWI. Hence we said we have 3 modes of collection, being KAWI, KATI, and KAPI. Now what I've just demonstrated now is what we call KAWI. So KAWI is a web interview that you can do at the comfort of your own time. And what I'll be demonstrating now, it will be KAPI, which will be what our field workers will be using on the field. And one thing to pride ourselves is that with this first ever digital census that will be conducted within the borders of SA, this is also our own internally developed application, which has been tested through our testing phases that the previous speakers were speaking to. We are quite confident that we will succeed. So I will just connect the tablet and then do the demonstration quickly. All right. Thank you, Dr. Mnamuji. So what we will be demonstrating now, members of the media and the members of the public, it's what the SG was talking about. When you see our field staff wearing green coming to your doorstep, they will be using this application to collect the information. So like we said, we have 3 modes of collection that we are deploying. The first one being KAPI, which will be the main mode of collection. Then we have KAWI, which I've just demonstrated how you can opt for KAWI. You will then have to do an online registration. We also have what we call KATI, which is the telephonic interview, which you can then also register for you to be enumerated through the telephone. Now, when you click on My Work, the field staff will see the work allocation that has been assigned to them. So when you click on Overberg, it will then load the structures that are linked to the work allocation that are allocated to you. Then when you click on that, you will then see the total number of households. I think I have spoken to this on the KAWI side of things. If one can see, you can already see that our applications are more interlinked. So the process is more or less similar. So in this case, I will just demonstrate one household. When one clicks on the household, the field worker will be presented with this page, which you can then start the interview. When you start the interview, on the right side of our screen, we can see that we have all the sections that needs to be completed, which Ndade Omar has classified them as themes that one needs to complete. So when we go to the household, you will see that it will present you with an opportunity to can start adding the members of the household. So when you say add, it will ask you the name. In this case, I will just type in my name, which is then Lucky. Okay. I'll just say add. Okay, paste my name. Okay, let me just type in my name, which is Lucky. Because of the projection, it expects me to use the laptop and the tablet at the same time. Then I will just say OK. Then you are presented with the first member of the household, which is Lucky. Then you can click on Lucky. Then the flow of the questionnaire, it has been made as simple as possible, such that our field workers are able to follow and collect the quality data that we are expecting to use. So it will ask you the question, what is Lucky's surname? Then Lucky's surname would then be Majadibodu. Let me just type in Majadibodu. And then the next question that will be asked, it will be, what is Lucky male or female? Then you can select Lucky is male. Then you can scroll down, and then it say, what is Lucky's year of birth? We also have the controls and mechanisms that are built behind our systems to ensure that we collect quality data. For an example, if I were to type that Lucky's age, Lucky's year of birth is 1800, and I would try and move, which it's most likely not the year that it's validated, it will then say the year of birth must be between 1892 and 2022. So meaning that you cannot enter any year that doesn't exist. So I will then go back and say Lucky was born in 2000, and then Lucky was born in the month of January, and it will also say what is the day that Lucky was born. You will just say 06, and it will say what was Lucky's age. So as you move away your mouse pointer to the next one, the system will automatically calculate the year. You do not have to enter the year. So those are the built-in controls and mechanisms that we have that are running behind the system to ensure that as the organization we collect the quality data. I will then move swiftly to the next section, which will then say next. Then we will then move to the demographics section. And then I will just quickly complete the questionnaire, the section. But Chairperson, I will just demonstrate the two sections just to show how the system is functioning. I will not go to the end of the questionnaire in the interest of time. Even one section is enough. So as the Chairperson is saying, I think, colleagues, to this point, we have demonstrated the applications that we are currently having deployed to do the Census 2022, which will be the digital census. And we are quite ready as the organization to can go out there and embark on this momentous task that is we are faced with. Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you, colleagues.
Thanks, Lucky. Cool, no, leave it, it's fine. Thanks. Thanks, Lucky. So the point is, it's easy to do this stuff. I mean, everyone can register, everyone can fill in the questionnaire themselves if they want to. If you're concerned about crime, if you're concerned about COVID, and you don't want people to come to your household, please register and choose the CAWI, computer-assisted web interviewing. So it says I'll self-enumerate. I'll enumerate myself. I'll fill in the form myself. Or you can choose the other one, which is called CATI, Computer Assisted Telephone Interview. So then someone will phone you and they'll interview you. If the household is about 2 people, takes about 22 minutes, roughly 10 minutes per person, a little bit more. Household is 4 people, takes about 40 to 45 minutes. So it's not long to complete the questionnaire. If you are not comfortable with completing it yourself, choose that you want an enumerator to come. An enumerator will then come to your household. On his gadget, he's got an assignment planning. So on his gadget, he can then see which households filled in this one himself and which ones he potentially needs to still go to. So there's no reason not to complete this. Whether you want people at your house or whether you do not want people at your house, please complete the census. Lucky, can I just see the teams again, please? Yeah. Just the teams.
Oh, the teams.
Teams.
Let me end my projection then. Or let me just try to do it here.
Just open that one. I just want to make sure that the minister is not online.
Okay.
Thanks. Thanks, Lucky. The Deputy Minister was asking whether all the enumerators will be male, because I keep talking about his gadget, his gadget. I should say that no, not all of them are male. There's a mix of male and female, so it's his, she's gadget. Next, we've got, am I right? It's a panel discussion. If there's any questions? Yeah. Panel is in front here. So I'll control it from here and we'll, by the show of hands, see if there's anything that needs to be clarified. After the panel discussion, there'll be an opportunity for interviews with the Deputy Minister and the Statistician-General or the Council in case you need to ask any questions. There's also opportunities for a photo shoot. We'll do it in front of the we'll do it in front here so that you've got the branding at the back. By the show of hands, if there's any questions. Yes, ma'am? Let's start with you.
And if you could just briefly please explain the selection criteria that was used for this year's census, as well as whether or not you have seen reports that we have received from the Becha Status A offices, where we've seen a number of people queuing to try and seek employment there, whether you've noted that in other parts of the country, and just commenting on what you have seen around the country, as well as how many applications you've received, because we see that you have selected 165,000 field workers. And lastly, we saw a statement from Status A where you extended the closing date to try and accommodate the matriculants after they had received their results. So whether they form part of that 165,000 or were they deployed in other positions. Thank you.
Thank you. Lukman will join us in front. We'll have the operational ones for him. Yes, sir. Just your name and where you're from, and then your question.
Thank you very much. My name is Francis Timo from SABC TV News. My question is for the Statistician-General. I'd like to find out, because there was a few raw a week ago when schools were reported where kids could not be placed at schools. They couldn't find any schools available, and the minister conceded that, because of fast development that's happening in urban areas, they literally have to chase the parents their kids in order to develop schools in areas where these parents are. So with the census being 10 years, does it not have shortcomings in terms of addressing such issues as this in terms of schooling for the kids and the likes like that? Should it not be reverted back to 5 years, every 5 years? That's my question there.
Thank you. Let me see. Let me give Themba a chance online. Themba, can you go for it? Themba, can yes, go for it, Themba.
No, just a quick question. For those of us who did training, we haven't received any feedback yet. Like my training was on the 3rd of, not training, but the assessment and interview was on the 3rd of December 2021, and to date there's been no feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. So feedback for the trainers who got training. Let's deal with those ones. I don't see any other hands. Let's deal with those ones and then we'll have another round. Lukman, we maybe start with you or the SG. Do you want to start? Let Lukman start and then we'll take it from there. Yeah, come here. Protocol man. He's abandoned us.
Sorry, I missed the second part as I was coming on stage, but in terms of the field workers, the process around, has the process differed? In principle, no. We have recruited people via a mass process of sourcing and identification based on where you live and reside. In previous censuses, this was done manually. 2001 and 2011, we used to put paper adverts in the newspaper. You used to cut them out, fill them in, drop them off with your documents. This was then captured manually or effectively assessed by a local office, and then you were called for training and or then appointed. In 2011, it was done in a similar process. But 2021 is fully electronic. So you capture your information on the recruitment portal. That information also has the capability to get your coordinates, your XY, which allows us to zero you in and put you into a location to bring you to your nearest training venue and identify you better. What then happens once your information is captured, and we're currently sitting at somewhere around 720,000 applications received on our system, we then undertake a process of criteria to source. So HR officers skilled in the process of recruitment and sourcing then contact you directly via SMS, identify your availability, whether you are ready to be trained or undergo training. And once that process concludes or you respond, you are then invited, you sign a training agreement, and that training agreement then allows you the capability to use a tablet. You allocated that tablet, and we then move on from there into training. Training is then fully virtual, run on a Teams platform in multiple training venues online. In terms of, as you said, I think you indicated there were few people coming through to offices. It even occurred here. Generally speaking, what used to happen is also by word of mouth, we used to get a lot of people coming through confirming if they were called or not. There were also some technical delays in the SMSs through our network provider, and that also caused a lot of people to come through at the same time when you heard your colleague was being called, etc. But generally speaking, we have allocated most of our tablets and people. Currently the gaps are being sourced or covered. When we say gaps, so as I said initially, we actually had split the country into over 100,000 pieces, and each piece is allocated to a person as they come in for training. And what happens thereafter is that they then align. Once you train, you undergo an assessment, and then you are given a piece of land to actually, within the borders, to count within. And so that process is now currently underway of filling in some of the gaps, and that will conclude shortly. I think the second question, okay, the SG will respond to that. The third one was relating to, I think, the online question feedback. I think we'll have to follow through on that respective case, but in most cases, the local HR officer will be able to assist in provisioning the information at hand. Thank you.
Thanks, Lukman. SG on the 5-year one. Just so that the applications were online, but in rural areas where we know we had problems, our office would go out and do targeted, what Lukman calls targeted sourcing. So you know, because in the system you can now see which enumerator areas are already covered and which ones are not covered. And for those ones that's not covered, you would go out and then you would source them through our offices. SG?
These colleagues, on the question you are asking, they use words sourcing, or these are technical terms for our internal use. The whole issue we have to address has to do with recruitment. And indeed, the comments you have been getting in the media, not only SABC media, but also other media houses on people, potential field workers reaching out to our offices, to our provincial offices, district offices, even here in the national office. You will have seen when you come in, there were so many cars, far more than usual when you come in. But also further right at the back, we have a lot of people, particularly from neighboring communities here in Tshwane, who have reached out to us to want to get their recruitment and their potential recruitment being addressed. So one is that the number of people we have seen in our district offices is that you have people who have applied and you have people who have never applied, who, with an understanding, learning from a relative or a friend, thinking, yes, I'm going to get a job. So they go and flood our offices. And this has always been the case. During sample surveys, as well as censuses, the fact is traditionally we have been recruiting people and dealing with issues on paper in our offices. So it's a combination of different people. People who have applied who want to get their issues sorted out, and some of them have applied. We were supposed to send them a unique code, and some didn't receive it owing to the network and the areas and remoteness where they are. And the only way they can do is to call. But some people don't believe in calling. They believe in arriving there in person. If you see me in person, and you know that I'm unemployed, and you know that I have 2 children or 2 siblings, on a niece and a nephew that I must feed, you will gravitate towards me. So it's always the case when you have employment and large-scale employment. So we know that this will be ongoing until we close, but we are addressing every issue, and we have actually dealt with the bulk of them. Just as of last week, there were so many people in our district offices, in our provincial offices. Offense, the question you raise also about this issue of conducting a census every 10 years so the information gets outdated. Firstly is, in official statistics, the number only gets outdated when it's replaced by a new one. So if there is no new number, that number remains in force. That is why we always qualify it as of 2011, as of 2015, That is the first thing. The second issue is, indeed, yes, as regards population statistics or the number of people in our country, we know that in 1996, we had about 40 million people. In 2001, we had about 45.7 million people. In 2011, we had 51 million, and as of our media estimates, we have about 61 million. So we have been tracking the population. But how do we mitigate for the 10-year gap? We have what we call media population estimates. And Diego seated there, right there next to you, is responsible for that. So every year we release population estimates as of the 1st of July in that year. So we can already tell you between 2011 and 2021 how our population has been growing in terms of annual growth, and of course we are able to talk about the number of children. So we can already tell you that we know that there are about 17,000 children aged 0 to 14 years, and we already know that we have about 20,000 people aged 15 years to about 39 years or something like that. We know that we have 5.5 million people aged 60 years and above. So we already have that, and we can unpack that by province. So we know that in Gauteng, we have about 26.3 of our population, more than a quarter of our population in South Africa is in Gauteng. And we can readily tell that the provinces of Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, which is sitting at about 11.5 million people, as well as the Western Cape and the Eastern Cape, account for about 70% of our population. We are tracking the population at all times. So for planning, that information is there. And as regards particularly what we have seen with schooling, we also released from our general household survey, which is a sample survey. So we already know that as of 2018, there were about 435,000 households that had increased in the country. And of those, a third of those were in Gauteng. And in the provinces of Western Cape, Gauteng, and the Northwest, we see a proliferation of the increase in the number of households. So we keep on tracking this, so information is always there. And we appeal to members of the public to use it at all times for planning, and particularly throw yourselves offense from media houses. Help us dish it out to members of the public. I thank you so much, Program Director.
So there's a question around the census has only got males and females, and no other. So why is that? Nosipo Shabalala is the Acting Deputy Director General in charge of social statistics and censuses. She'll just responsible for the content. She'll give us a why that is.
Good morning. Good morning. Okay, the sixth question in the Census 22 questionnaire.
Nobody is going to hear a Program Director.
Okay. In the Census 2022 questionnaire, the sixth question refers to the biological makeup of the person or the sex that is assigned at birth. And so that is what we are covering in the Census 2022. However, this is not to say we are blind to the need of the identification and the profiling of the other groups. However, upon the research that we have conducted, we have seen that the question on sex, including the LGBTQI groups, it requires an array of questions that you need to have tested intensively before the census and also piloted. And perhaps also conducting just a standalone survey to understand, or a standalone study to understand the proper questions that you need to ask in order to be able to measure that group. So in the post-census period, we are now going to continue with the research and the development of the questions that are directed to measuring that group and profiling them, as well as testing and piloting, so for the inclusion of this group in the next census. Thank you.
Thank you. All the sanitation I should be covered for the next month. So you need a special survey or more research done to, you can't just start research in a census like this. Okay, any other hands or any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Go for it.
Just hold on, okay.
Yeah.
Can I just get the estimation of the number of people or applications that you have received, as well as where matriculants that you've recruited would fit into the recruitment process, as well as now that you have plans to go electronic and hand out your gadgets to the field workers, have there been any safety or security concerns with regard to them going out into areas and the likelihood of any theft of those gadgets, as well as their personal safety, just measures that you have taken to ensure that? Thank you.
Okay, Lukman will take that one. So the numbers to date, that's 132,000, I suppose, Lukman? You've got it. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, yes. So the estimation of the numbers of people, as I reported earlier, in terms of the 90% that we've sourced, but the actual applicants that we've received for example, if a matriculant would have applied, is the 700,000 that we are currently seeing on our recruitment systems. In terms of where a matriculant would fit into that process, so as we indicated, the initial recruitment drive concluded on the 30th of December. It was then extended till the end of this month. And an applicant, be it, we don't really even, as long as you meet your criteria and in terms of what you submit, would be in the database and would be assessed equally amongst anyone else who applies, you or I. So once you meet that and you submit your information, so yes, you're a matriculant, you're a citizen of South Africa, you have A, B, C, D, the system dynamically runs through that and then assesses and says, you are called for training, are you available? And then we communicate appropriately in that space. In terms of your safety and security concerns and the likelihood of any theft, one could even say it's a fact of life that one has to look at measures around that. And the current tablets that we have are very well secured. Everything that it's currently built within the tablet runs within an encrypted network. These tablets are also fully secured with digital tracking systems. What this means is anytime it moves, even when it's stationary, it tracks like you would get in a vehicle. That information provides us with breadcrumbs and so forth. Also, these devices are fit for purpose for census primarily, so they have no value otherwise. I mean, if anyone gets this tablet, it cannot be used to put games on, do anything else. It only works for census collection, and so by their very nature, they are locked down. But that's the device side. In terms of in our previous community survey where we rolled out 13,000 tablets, you will get losses, damages, theft, whatever that is, but those numbered about 100. And so nominally speaking, one would get fieldwork replacement units that would easily be able to cover the gap. That's not to say it's not going to happen. So Statistician and the Census Project has already met with NatJocs, the ProfJocs, with the National Joint Operations. We've set up specific relationships through South African Police Services in areas where, as we know, this country is always on the move and there's always issues. We do have support from the various security areas in the country. We do provision the ability where field workers are escorted. They are supported in areas with the various types of challenges that they come with. What we have with the ProfJocs and relationships around that is that as we see hotspots, whatever it may be, where the field worker feels that challenges or their life would be threatened or in any other way, they would then get the relevant support. We can bring this on, and this is monitored on a daily basis, 24 hours a day. In addition to that, we do have known areas where you have problems, and we bring on board guides. Guides who are actually, and hence why the main reason why we want someone who's from the area. They know the challenges. They also know who are the community gatekeepers. Who can help me count this area? Who can help me count this collective living quarters? Be it a hostel, be it this, be it an area that's enclosed. And once they activate the guides, the local, provincial, and district office brings the guide along to say, can I come in? Will you allow us to count? Open up, set an appointment, and as such, it makes things a whole lot easier, and the country gets counted. Thank you.
Okay. I think thanks for that. I don't see any other hands. Now we'll allow for interviews and a photo shoot here in front. So media can indicate who wants interviews with whom. There's some food as you go out the door on your left-hand side. So please grab some food there.